Good morning, evening, or afternoon. You're listening to Brownsville Matters, KXIQ 105.1's podcast show, where you learn a little about everything from all walks of life on the border by the sea. Our next guest is a professional privacy technologist. He is well-versed in so many fields, so many topics. We spent the last couple minutes just talking about everything under the sun. He's done quite a few presentations in downtown Brownsville involving his line of work, artificial intelligence, and empowering young students. Phil Donaus, welcome to Brownsville Matters.
Thank you, Gil.
Yeah. In one of your presentations that you did last summer during the Chautauqua on the Rio lecture series at Buo, you were giving a refreshingly optimistic outlook on artificial intelligence. Now, this is a field that is rapidly evolving, rapidly growing. I like to start things off with a curveball question. Half a year later, do you still feel the same way?
I'm still optimistic.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm still optimistic, but I think that says more about me than the technology. I think what is happening is we are figuring out ways, we are figuring out the limits of this technology, and we are finding all the ways that we can make a mistake.
Okay.
So I think naturally with any technology, that is a part of life. Like I think of the creation of aircraft. Like aircraft were inherently unsafe. Like when they first came around, commercial aviation. And I got a chance to learn how to fly as a student in high school.
Oh, very cool.
And when you learn about what the fundamentals of flight are, there's this sort of conversation in your brain where the vast majority of people who fly aircraft, including aviators and individuals who are, general aviators, people who are civilians who fly or people who fly commercially, they don't have the scientific understanding for how the aircraft actually produces its lift. Like, it is truly a complex conversation in topics and fluid dynamics. And I eventually, later on in my life, had an aerospace engineer explain to me how they believe lift happens. But you don't need that to be able to use the tool effectively. What you do need is safety, you need training, you need guardrails, you need regulation. And I think that is where we are able to see in AI what is missing. We are in that phase prior to that. We don't yet completely understand all the ways this technology works as users of it. So until we get to a level of maturity where we can actually be able to explain that and we can use it as an operator, we have to be thinking about safety and guardrails. So all the ways you see AI is messing up in the news, all the ways you see AI is rotting our brains, all the way in which people are using AI as therapists, I see it as we are really, truly testing the limits, and we are realizing, we did not anticipate people wanting to use this for this reason. Or, we don't have a good enough understanding of this technology to be able to effectively use it safely. Or should we be using it? There are so many questions about it.
Right.
And so the idea is we're going to get to a point where we have an understanding of how it affects us and how we are most likely to use it. And the technology will improve, which in turn will allow us to be able to use it in a safer way, as well as at a certain point, organizations across the world have been coming together to produce AI guidelines. And these guidelines are being adopted at the business levels where I've seen them a lot, not really a lot on the social level. And that's because on the social level, the more people who use AI, you're going to make more money that way. But it is not, to me, had a chilling effect on how I use AI. I do see for a lot of people, they are growing increasingly frustrated with it and I think it's because they are realizing that maybe AI isn't sophisticated enough for their own uses just yet. And so that's where I think about it. So in short, I'm optimistic, just like I would be for any early stage technology.
Right.
We had a lot more car accidents before we had seatbelts, you know? So I see this as like, hey, if we're going to have a new industrial revolution, this is going to be one of the things that this is going to be one of the phases we're going to be in, this exploratory phase where things blow up and people get upset. But in the long run, we'll realize the error of our ways and then can hopefully make sure that we have proper policies to make it safer.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to be very optimistic about it.
Yes.
We're still trying to figure ourselves out and our relationship with this. Well, some people, like you said, view it as a therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, because it is supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to favor you. It's
Yeah.
supposed to say nice things to you.
Yep.
Unless you specifically tell it, hey, tell it to me straight.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's quite so. One of the interesting things that I think about with AI is the way you approach it.
Mm-hmm.
The way you approach it says a lot about you, but also a lot about how you have been sold what AI is.
Mm-hmm.
I am someone who interacts with AI in a highly skeptical manner.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for my wife's nonprofit, there's a technology that I just built last night entirely using AI. Right?
That's amazing.
What happens is I realized that there's something that I did with each of our students, and it was I get them onto a whiteboard and I help them rank all of their schools, and all of the schools are listed on there, and I basically ask them to order them from like 1 to N. So you have a first place, second place, and then nth place all the way down.
Right.
And you do that for 3 categories, and you get to pick what categories it is. For some students, it's academics. For some students, it's location, it's weather, or it's fun, or it's their proximity to home. Whatever their criteria is, we would rank it, and then we would give it like a Formula One point system, as if they just, as if the schools just had a race across, 3 circuits, and now you have a grand champion. And what I find is that students are less concerned about the order of the schools, but they are surprised with how much they were undercounting certain schools or how much they were overcounting certain schools. Like we had many students who were like, oh, I thought school A was certainly going to be the answer, but I actually really care a lot more about school F. And now I want to make the change. But I used AI entirely to build an app in the scale of 3 hours and I deployed it.
Nice.
And it's available on the website. And it's available for all the students to be able to use. And the way that I used it was inherently skeptical. I expected the wrong answer. I still needed to know software development to get the result that I wanted. But if I'm looking at it from the perspective of this is a fallible tool that will misunderstand me, that will misinterpret me, that will try its best to give me what it thinks I want, and not actually produce an accurate result. Like it's not actually interested in producing an accurate result. It's programmed in a way to give me the result it believes I'm most likely to receive. I can use that tool. Like I, as a skilled operator, can use that tool. Someone who's looking for that from a therapist.
Oh no.
I don't know enough about psychology, but I do know that you don't go to a therapist necessarily because you're looking for a sounding board and someone to agree with you.
Right.
You're looking for someone to diagnose you. You're looking for someone to be able to provide actionable, therapy, and ultimately a tool that's sitting in code,
Right.
that is trying to interpret and just provide a feedback loop that gets you to keep using it is not going to be it.
Right.
Like you should have friends for that.
Yes.
If you're looking to find someone who's willing to agree with you or to share the same ideas as you, or to be like, no, you're right. That was your boss was mean that day, or like, yeah, no, your mother-in-law, this and that, whatever. I throw out mother-in-laws because mother-in-laws get a bad rap.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's great. But aside from that, if you're looking to vent, there are friends for that.
Right.
If you are going to AI, you're simply, asking a fish to breathe. I think
Mm-hmm.
it lives in its realm for a particular purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the point of a human therapist, I would like to think, is to eventually not need the human therapist.
Yes.
At some point in the future.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas with AI, because it creates this, like you said, the feedback loop. It by virtue of it wanting to feed itself with more for its algorithms, it wants to invite you back.
Exactly. Yeah. And it also, more importantly, it wants to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it will be as right as you let it.
Yeah.
It's like there are quite a few things. Like one of the things I think about is in something I watch. Something that's like a common subset of like YouTube is body language analysis and police interrogation videos.
Oh yeah, those are great.
There's this idea for people who are like hypnotists or magicians. There's the power of coercion. And the idea that, you know, people are easily coerced or convinced to do things or to behave in a certain way simply because of the pressure of that. Imagine that just the most easily coerced thing, right, in the world as a piece of technology sitting on everyone's phone, laptop, desktop, wherever it is, right? It's the reason why Samsung had an issue where they had to fire a ton of executives who use AI because someone else was able to coerce the private information that was fed to it out of it, which is an exfiltration of data. And you were able to coerce AI to give you tons of sensitive information about people, whether it is real or not. You are able to coerce AI to hallucinate, which is what some lawyers have done when they try to use AI to prepare their legal briefs or their defenses. They are AI wants to be right, so it will cite whatever it thinks is going to make you happy, even if it's fake.
Right.
And it doesn't know the difference between real or fake. It only wants to be right. So for me, that's clear evidence that if we're going to approach a technology like AI, we have to recognize that it's sort of like a puppy dog. It's like, what's next? What's next? I want to make you happy. You want to play fetch? Let's go play fetch, right? It's the perfect golden retriever. I want to do more. What's going on? No, please love me. Please love me. Like it is very much like that. And so we have to be careful about how we approach that. But I will say that is a type of power that we've never had before. Like imagine like thinking about it from this way, where the reason why AI I think is also very popular right now is because a lot of people, whether it is through financial circumstances, economic circumstances, the way society is or perceptions of it, people are feeling that they have less control or their sphere of control has diminished. And while that may be true, they're finding that they're getting that sense of control from AI, right? People talk about how there's a male loneliness epidemic. Well, AI is one of those outlets that people are taking to because it is something that is easily controlled. It is quite cheap to do that. You don't have to shower, go outside, present yourself nicely, and go make friends, which is very hard to do, right? When you can just create a version of a person you'd like to be your friend in a digital world, right? So it is very much one of those ill-timed, but you know, now it sounds like I'm a pessimist about this, right? but it is very ill-timed. We are in an age in which where it's becoming very popular, and it's rearing its head when it comes to all the negativity. As a technology, like when I think of it as a tool, I'm still inherently optimistic, but I can only be as optimistic as we're saying, like, hey, we're putting trained pilots in the pilot seats of aircraft. We need trained operators in the seats of AI. Yeah.
Wonderful. Oops. Yeah, no, I feel like there's just so much to talk about this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think we'll be returning to this topic later on in the conversation.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we recently had a conversation where for a long time I thought you were born and raised in New Jersey, but no, your story actually goes a little further than that. So
Yeah.
Phil, let's talk about your background, how you grew up, how you eventually came to Brownsville, and maybe where along the line you started developing an interest in technology.
Oh, that's a very good question. So I was born in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Both of my parents are from there, and we immigrated from the island when I was 3. So I don't really have many memories. It was my parents, myself, and my younger brother, who was about 9 months, and we came directly to New Jersey because that's where on my mom's side, my grandparents lived. They had lived in the States for about 25 years prior to then, and they were, as a part of that program, we were able to also move as well. And where I grew up is, I call it idyllic, but I didn't realize what that meant.
Yeah.
I grew up in Somerset, New Jersey, in Franklin Township in particular. Now, if you look at New Jersey, there is, of course, to the northeast, you have New York.
That's right.
And to the southwest, you have Philadelphia.
Yes.
I would say that we are almost equidistant between both of those major metropolitan areas.
Right in the middle.
And so because of that, I had quite a few people who were both Giants fans and Eagles fans. We were also outside of New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is the former capital of New Jersey.
Oh.
Before the capital was moved to Trenton, it was in New Brunswick.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And Queens College, which is now Rutgers University, was established there at the time. So there's a lot of history that existed in New Jersey. In Franklin Township, there's Bound Brook, which is where the Battle of Bound Brook from the American Revolutionary War came from. Wow. There are quarters in which where we know Benjamin, and our name is named after Benjamin Franklin's son.
Oh.
Because he founded the town. So there's a ton of like history. So it's really interesting because for me, like I didn't get a chance to know much about history of Haiti where I came from, but growing up there, I learned about the Lenape indigenous peoples. I learned about the American Revolutionary War, and I got to go and see all of those places because, hey, the Battle of Trenton was fought nearby. Aaron Burr went to Princeton University. All these characters existed in this space where I lived, and so it was really cool. And again, it sounds like an idyllic mid-Atlantic town, and I didn't realize it until much later. I realized that my school district, my public school district, was actually one of the most diverse and well-integrated public school districts in America. We spoke over 50 languages.
50 languages.
We had students who came from all over the globe. Yeah. So there were people who came from India, Pakistan, China, Japan, Korea. Oh my gosh. We had Europeans from Russia, Latvia, Croatia. Whoa. We had students from, of course, Latin America. We had so many different people from all over the world. We had people from Nairobi, from Lagos, Africa. So you have, and my town, my school, it was sort of strange to sort of be like, oh, I'm from Haiti, but realistically, I'm from here. Right. Because we're all from somewhere else anyway.
Sure.
But that was the thought in my head. And in that space, I had one of the things that was predominantly consistent across all of our experiences, because maybe the food was different, maybe the culture was different, but it was all about the new tech that was out there. And I think that was one of the first things that helped me realize, like, oh, I really like technology. I remember when my dad got a BlackBerry. I was so happy because he had a BlackBerry, and I just recently saw my friend's dad had a BlackBerry as well. And I remember when touchscreen phones came out, and my dad had gotten a touchscreen phone at the same time as my other dad's friend had a touchscreen phone, and I got my cell phone, and I just saw what it could help us do.
Right.
Like my 5th grade experience involved email chains.
Oh.
Like we sent each other emails outside of school because we didn't have personal phones. So we just sent each other emails to make plans and to talk about stuff or to just update on things like various different after school programs that we did. Actually, one of the biggest ones that I think really contributed to my love of technology was called Odyssey of the Mind. And that is quite literally a creativity competition. And the goal is you're given a problem, you're given a set of rules with or limitations within that problem, and your job is to creatively come up with a solution within a budget to that problem and to present the solution in an 8-minute short play. So right. So not only are you supposed to be able to present a solution to the problem, but you have to be able to clearly and creatively articulate a story around it. And I think that's where my love of storytelling came in. Actually, I'm doing a lot of like introspection reflection, Gil, right now. This is almost like therapy.
I love it. Great callback. No AI at all.
Exactly. No AI, exactly. When you have friends.
There we go. Who needs AI?
Exactly. And so one of the first things I did was we did a vehicle problem. And basically, the only requirements that we had for the vehicle problem was that you had a small 2 foot by 2 foot square on one side of the gym, and 12 feet to the other side was another 2 foot by 2 foot square. And you had to, the problem was a vehicle problem. So you had to transport or you had to move your vehicle so that it retrieved an object, whatever the object was, and had to deliver it to the opposite square. And it had to do that outside of the square. So you had to somehow retrieve the object. So you need an object delivery system. There's a zone. You had to go ahead and deliver the object outside that zone. And then you had to be able to retrieve the object. And every time you did that, you earned points. Because not only did you earn points for that particular problem in that sense, but you earned points in regards to your creativity, in regards to your problem solving, in regards to all of those components. So what we did was we built wind-up toy cars out of styrofoam and hot glue, basically. And we created these little vehicles that had a turned axle that automatically traveled in an arc. And we, in 5th grade, tried our hardest, realistically, to calculate. We did science experiments, basically, to calculate what angle was going to provide us the most optimal curve. And also how much winding we needed to do to produce the most optimal curve. Because the vehicle had to autonomously stop in the other zone, too. So we had to time it exactly. The egg retrieval system had, we just decided it was just going to be manually fed and had to be timed. So we just had someone manually feed it so that, and I said egg, I'm giving away. So the object retrieval system had to collect the object at some point in that arc. So we had practiced so many times how to make sure that we could get as many eggs as possible. And my job was to safely retrieve the vehicle, reset the vehicle, and set it off again. And that was one of my jobs. All at the same time, we had to present the solution to this in the 8-minute play, and we decided to make it Harry Potter Goblet of Fire themed.
Oh my goodness.
So these were little baby dragons that we had that were collecting eggs, golden eggs from the mother dragon, and then delivering them to the other side of the course. We just created some sort of idea, and we had dialogue and characters, and I got to play Ron. Yeah, I got to play Ron. Yeah. You're like, yeah. But we did so. It was just so much fun, and that was one of the first bits of it, of truly being able to think creatively when it comes to technology. I was like, wow, we got to do that. We made our own costumes. I learned how to sew because we made our own costumes in the 5th grade for this stuff. We didn't use any cool like advanced technologies, but we used what we could. We built a lot of the components out of wood. And we had actually built a stadium backdrop out of a massive plywood sheet. And I remember spending, I want to say like 3 weeks, just myself, on making these little people, these little figurines. And we stuck them onto on little rows of seats, because what happened was whenever we successfully collected an egg, we needed a celebration. That was a requirement of the rules. So we had someone go back there and like flip these little switches, which made all the people do the wave and everything. And it was just like, 5th graders, right?
Wow.
And I did this program, and we went to the national or we went to the International World Championships for that year.
What?
It was in Lansing, Michigan, at Michigan State University. And that's when I got to saw everyone from around the world. We were competing with people from China, from Italy, from Greece, from other parts of the United States, from Mexico. Like, it was truly like everyone. And we had pin trading as a really cool thing. I think that got me in the realm of technology completely, because there were other problems I could have done. There was, for example, a balsa wood structure problem. We call that problem 4. The balsa wood structure problem was you had to have a balsa wood structure under 16 ounces. And that year it was Pandora's box. It had to come out of a box, and you had to construct it live, and then you had to have it hold weight. Okay, 16-ounce balsa wood structure. You're only to use wood and glue.
Yes.
How much do you think our 5th grader team was able to hold?
Oh my gosh. Well, balsa wood isn't the strongest of wood.
Nope.
But I'm sure if you build it the right way, how much did it hold?
Over 250 pounds.
Oh my god.
And at competition, there were people who were at 330 pounds.
Oh.
We quite literally had 45-pound plates that were used to lay on top of this structure consistently. Like it couldn't have been more than I believe the requirements was it couldn't be more than 12 inches high or something even shorter than that. And it had to come out of the box. But I was amazed. Like I got to do the vehicle problem, but my friends who also got to do the balsa wood problem, I was amazed. I was intrigued by just how strong materials could be just through the design. Right. And that sold me on technology. It was like, I'm going to go ahead and do something technology based in my future. I want to create, I want to do that kind of stuff. And it's that experience for me that sort of locked in like, okay, I'm going to want to do technology. My very next year I competed, I did a vehicle problem. We took the inside of like one of the Hot Wheels toys, the little car toys. We took the motor, we took the axle, and the whole thing is like we are supposed to, right? If you buy too many of your items, it's considered outside assistance. Okay, you're not allowed to have assistance from any adults, and we get penalized if any judge believes that there is a task that a 5th or 6th grader can't reasonably perform themselves. To go ahead and like you get penalized, you lose points for that.
Okay. Wow.
We built a popcorn machine, Rover, which one of our students sat in, and it's made out of PVC pipes. We took the Hot Wheels motor and the battery system and the start-stop mechanism, and that year we made it a circus theme. So we used a massive like outdoor umbrella, and we stitched canvas around it, red and yellow canvas to make it a circus tent. And that was one of like the more really complex like technology things that we did. And again, I don't even remember what the goal was. The goal was to have a vehicle that effectively transported something again, but this time one of the students had to be in it. And we had this massive enclosure, and like we worked for hours on all this stuff. We all made our costumes again. That one I was so mad because we got penalized because they believed that us using the Hot Wheels motor and the battery system was a step too far. Yeah.
They penalize you for being too good.
For being too good, right?
No.
And otherwise, like the axle was created by us. One of the parents was like, I'm going to teach you how to stick weld, just this one part. And he taught 2 of the members of my team how to basically stick weld. How to use the welder and how to tack all the welds together. And they were like, yeah, no, I don't know if we want to condone, 6th graders using this type of technology. So we're just going to call it outside assistance. The high schoolers, maybe a different story, right? And that was so upsetting because they also tried to get us on our costumes. They were like, oh, you guys didn't make your costumes. These are so well built. And I'm like, dude, I've been literally stitching stuff with sewing machines for the past like 2 years now. And we literally got together and we showed them how we made our creases and stuff. And they're like, okay, no, we'll give back the 10 points for that. But they docked us 30 points for the machine, for the car. And we lost by I think it was 7 points to advance to the World Championships again that year.
Oh my gosh.
But imagine, right? Like we were that was the level of like technology and understanding and creativity that was like where I grew up, and it just sort of stuck with me. Wow. And so I so badly want to be able to not just participate in something like that again, but to also be able to help other students be able to do that.
Something like that in Brownsville would be amazing.
It would be, but as we mentioned previously, right? There are similar programs like that. Like there are ways where they won't get penalized for using an electric motor now, but the Oliveira Racing Team. This is a group of high schoolers that consistently compete with Green Power USA. It's an EV run. It's an EV style program that a good friend of mine is on the board of. But they compete and race. They race their vehicles at racetracks across the country. So there are stuff like that in Brownsville. I just think people need to be aware of it and just being willing to do more. I think a couple months ago, they got really cool shirts from the Aero McLaren racing team, the Indy team. So that's a really great example. But yeah, I think for me, I was in awe of the place that I was. I was in awe of the technology, and the technology was the thing I got to share with everybody. It didn't matter if you spoke Farsi, Urdu, German, or French. Like, we all could get around the technology.
Right.
And if you're gonna do anything, you're gonna showcase like what kind of cool technology you brought in. Our science fair projects were so much fun. If you can imagine what we did for that stuff. Science fair was so much. Yeah. But yeah.
What a privilege, Phil.
Yeah,
That sounds like something that I could only have seen in PBS Kids growing up.
Yeah, true.
You describe it as the type of thing that a camera crew from PBS Kids would film to inspire other kids across America.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that is what I realized we could our what's the word I'm looking for? Our advocacy of these programs and stuff like that, making that cool, I think has got to be the hardest thing. Because even in my town, the kids who did Odyssey of the Mind, we were the nerds. Like, we weren't that cool. Like, and it wasn't until later on when they realized, oh, the kids in Odyssey of the Mind, they also were like in top 10. Oh, the kids in Odyssey of the Mind are all now starting their own technology companies or are working for Google and all this stuff. They're like, oh, maybe there's something to it, right? Some of my other classmates. But I think from that place, everyone ended up where essentially they needed to, right? They ended up in something that they enjoy. And I think that being able to share that with the Brownsville community is probably going to be one of my next goals. But aside from that, right, if you're not going to be able to get it here, you can definitely get that in undergraduate at college, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where does Brownsville come to the picture? How did you make the leap from New Brunswick, New Jersey, all the way to Brownsville, Texas?
Sure. So there's a few stops along the way.
Oh, please.
So I went to school at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is right across the river from New York City.
That's right.
And I met my wife, Maria Fernanda, in New York.
Yes.
So when we were in undergrad, we met, and I was pursuing quantitative finance. She was pursuing her American Studies degree in the city. And it wasn't until after she had graduated and returned home through Teach for America that we were actually separated for a little bit. So I started to visit. Brownsville. Prior to then, we had been dating for about 3 years. I only got to really know her family, which was the family that she knew in Tennessee, that she had in Tennessee. But it wasn't until I came to Brownsville for the first time, I think, in 2018, that I was like, oh, this is quite the different place.
Yes.
And I think one of the first things we did was we came in, we hung out, and we went straight to the beach. Like, we went straight to South Padre Island. We hung out there. We came back, and then I left. And then I spent the holidays here. I spent New Year's here because of the quinceañera. That was around that time as well. So I got to spend time here and in Matamoros, and that's when I started to be a little bit more acclimated to Brownsville as a whole. I had been to Texas previously earlier that year, but I was still just like, like, this seems like a small town. And it was very much a culture shock from where I was coming from, with access to New York City,
right?
Things that are open 24/7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, things close at 10 here? Like, what do you mean? Like I need coffee now. Like,
yeah. Also, not to mention, you came from an incredibly highly diverse place.
Yes.
And here we're homogeneously Latino.
Exactly. And so for me, it was like, and it wasn't like strange to be around Latinos, right? Because in my community, there were still pockets of Latinos and Hispanic people.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was sort of like, this is such a vastly different place culturally, but also topographically.
Right.
Like Fernanda would be like, oh, I miss the skies in Texas. And I'm like, it's the same sky everywhere, Faye. She's like, no, it isn't. and then I'm like, oh, actually, you know what? It's actually very different. It feels different. There's a different type of energy related to it. And so I realized, okay, this is a very different place. I'm going to need to be acclimated to it. And so I consistently would spend a few months down here, normally around the New Year's and the holidays, and Fernanda would spend time with me during the summers because she'd be off for the summers. And it wasn't until 2020, I think in late February, I was planning on doing a trip down to Brownsville again, But shortly thereafter, we started to hear the murmurs of COVID.
Uh-huh.
And in March of that year, everything just shut down. And I remember what seemed like a panic because I had just started working for for a consulting firm. Again, getting my chance to sort of spread my wings with building technology. And I remember sitting in an office with two of my peers or my colleagues, and individuals were like, "We have to go."
Mm-hmm.
Like they were running past the conference room saying, "We have to go. This office is being shut down. There's been a confirmed case in one of the other floors." And it was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to go home now. And my role wasn't necessarily 100% in person. Like I did have to be in the office maybe 2 or 3 days of the week, but that was it. It was like I was just home from that point, and we were suddenly afraid to go outside. And so that was when Fernanda and I, around that time, made the decision, hey, you know what? We can live realistically anywhere, because my role was the only reason why my role required me to be in the office 2 or 3 days a week was so I could check the mail.
Oh.
And the reason why was when you are, what I was doing is called Medicaid claims. Basically, when you are a drug company, the federal government, when they purchase your drug, are entitled to rebates that are published, and you have to be able to remit those rebates to the federal government, so that way you remain in compliance with their state healthcare plans. I'm sorry, I said federal governments. Federal government programs at the state level.
There you go.
So some states sent their bill in the mail because that was their only way. Other states had electronic methods or online portals. Some states were still using the mail, so I had to pick up the mail. Because of COVID, everyone went online. You just had to, or else you weren't going to get, no one was going to go get the mail. The mail wasn't working at that time.
I see.
So it became clearly like an impetus to sort of change the way that we were doing things. And I'd probably spent 2 or 3 more months working in that role until Fernanda and I just got together and we were like, this is going to be remote. I was like, this technology that we've now stood up is now going to enable us to never have to go into the office to pick up mail again. So at this point, we can live anywhere. So where do we want to live? And it was a conversation for us to move to Texas at that time. And so I drove from New Jersey all the way down to Texas in the span of 3 days. And we were here in 2020. We moved into our apartment. And that's sort of what brought me down here. It was not just the convenience of being able to live somewhere that was warm and that was honestly relatively cheap, but like it was going to be warm. And if you're familiar, Gil, with the Northeast, if you're already stuck inside for the majority of your summers, your winters are brutal. And so we were sort of like escaping the seasonal depression that comes with, not being able to see the sun until about like where the sun goes down at like 3:40 or 4 o'clock. And now I'm able to at least enjoy going for a walk or having some space or proximity from you and other people. And so that's what brought me down to Brownsville. I took my work with me. I've worked remote ever since. And so I've had the pleasure of being able to live here, but also being able to still pursue the work I have with technology.
Wonderful. So now I have to ask.
Yes.
Yes. What has been your favorite food here in the border?
Ooh. Okay. You know what? Okay. No. I was gonna say something that more. No. Let me think on this, because the way I present this is gonna have to be important. I think people love. I think Brownsvillians love their tacos. I love tortas as well.
Yes.
But for me, the food that I am, it's hard because when I enjoy things, I become very critical of them. when I speak about this food, it's like it may come off as like I have a very love-hate relationship with it, and it's because I love it so much that sometimes when I'm disappointed, It's chilaquiles.
I see.
I love chilaquiles.
Yes.
And I always get it with scrambled eggs. If I can have like deshebrada or bistec on it as well, I will. But like I love chilaquiles.
Yes.
Always both salsas. And right now, I think it's I forgot the place, but there's a place on Boca Chica. I think it's Doña Lilia's that has, for me, my favorite Chilaquiles.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's Chilaquiles hands down. Yeah. And it's funny because I'd never had Chilaquiles before Brownsville. Yeah. Yep.
It's funny the way you built the premise
Yes.
or the context. It sounds very similar to how you frame AI.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no. But I mean it's oh man, I just love Chilaquiles. Actually, I'm gonna go get Chilaquiles after this.
Wonderful.
That's it, yeah. No, that's my favorite food for sure.
Mm-hmm. You've chosen well.
Yes, I would think so. Now I'm gonna be hungry for the rest of this interview. So fair enough.
Not to worry.
Yeah.
Okay. The first presentation that you gave at the bookstore involved privacy, online privacy. Now, I'm going to mention a situation, especially since you mentioned Medicare and how it's más o menos linked to what I'm about to say.
Yes.
And you're going to diagnose this particular situation of mine.
Sure.
At some point, Phil, at some point in the past 5 or 6 months,
Okay.
I've been getting bombarded with phone calls trying to sell me Medicaid, Medicare, funeral plans, compensation for a car crash that never happened, etc. But it's mainly those three.
Yes.
What happened?
A lot of things happened, actually.
No.
And it's actually a succession of things happening. In the data privacy world, there are 2 things that everyone should be aware of. It's hard because we don't necessarily have these large major players in Brownsville, but we actively use technology that is at risk. And there are an increasing number of cyber attacks. And then there are increasing number of data breaches. So what's a cyber attack? Yes, it is the hacker and the virus that is infiltrating a network, and it's sometimes removing data from a data source and pulling it out to another server. That's exfiltration. It's sometimes ransomware, sometimes an individual, for example, would go ahead like you ask how do cyber criminals make their money?
Yes.
They prey on individuals who are less aware or less fortunate, and what they do is they participate in these exercises called ransomware. And what essentially happens is when a company or someone who is a custodian of your data, let's say Facebook or like a bank, if they don't have the proper practices to protect your information, they will actually the cyber criminals will access these resources. They will lock them down, so they will prevent the business from using that data, and then they will demand a ransom to the cyber company. And as soon as that happens, you should report this to the FBI, because predominantly the players that are sponsoring these for large organizations are known foreign organizations, I'll say, not to necessarily be specific with any one country, because it isn't just one country, right? So these are foreign organizations that are attempting to access this type of data. And what commonly happens is if they can't get that information out of the system, they'll perform a ransomware attack to basically try and extract some money. Otherwise, if they can exfiltrate data, that's a breach. They will pull that data, and what they will do is they will sell all of that information to the highest bidder in the black market. And the reason why that is so important is that when you log in to a portal, let's say you use the same username and password, let's say you go ahead and use your phone number as a 2-factor authenticator, let's say maybe use your email as that, or maybe you don't have, or maybe your password just happens to be password 1234 or just password or Michael Jordan. You'd be surprised. Michael Jordan's one of the most popular passwords.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Michael Jordan, exactly. And then iterations of that. But
exclamation points.
Exclamation points, yeah, right? But that's the thing, so these passwords are out there and are commonly known, and now if you actually were able to access a banking system or a utility system's database about their customers, you have all this information about these individuals, And the only way that these individuals are going to make money is if they sell that data set to the highest bidder. And so they are selling that information on the dark web to other people so that they can try and make their money off of it. So let's say out of 100,000 people who were affected as a part of a data breach, for example, AT&T had a massive data breach when I was working for one of their competitors. And that data breach consisted of over at least, the numbers were in the six figures of people's data who were exfiltrated. And it contained basic information about like email, usernames, names, for example, phone numbers, some account information. Can you do damage with that? Absolutely. If I built a bot that was sophisticated enough, I could potentially access all of those various different accounts with that information, especially if their passwords aren't secure, especially if their other devices aren't secure. So I can do that, right? If I accessed a banking platform and there was a major breach there, I have access to social security numbers. I can apply for loans. I can check your credit. I can do a ton of things and build a profile on the vast majority of people in there. And you might not be familiar with this, but you might be familiar with those different types of scams, such as romance scams or the phone calls or your extended warranty on your car insurance.
Classic one, yes.
These are opportunistic ways to get you on the phone with a bad actor so that they may further access your information. Because now what they have is after they've bought, let's say they buy a data set of 100,000 people for $1.2 million. Even if 5% individuals respond and they're able to defraud them of an average of $10,000, they've made their return on investment.
That's right.
And so because of that, you're running into so much risk. You're running into so much risk all the time. And these bad actors are trying to extract that type of value for them. That is the way of cyber criminal business. That's how they do business. So you're getting these because one of the custodians of your data was either not secured enough, and I don't want to go on the level of irresponsible. That's up to the regulators, the Federal Trade Commission, and the FBI to and the FBI to prosecute. But essentially, if you're getting a lot of these spams, there was a breach, and you probably got a notice in one of the most quietest forms possible.
Right.
In an email that shows like, please refer to this online portal for a message. And you're like, I just ignore those from my, from Spectrum or whoever, right? Or they send it to you in the mail. I don't check my mail regularly enough, especially if it's a logo that I already know that isn't asking for a bill. What do I think? It's an ad. I'm going to toss it away.
Right.
But they tend to be very quiet about these breaches. And so that's what happened. That's why you're getting a lot of these. And sadly, the only way to go ahead and to stop them is to stop participating in these different endeavors. Something that's been happening is a lot of my game accounts have been, a lot of people have been attempting to access my gaming accounts. And you might think like, why is that such a bad thing? Well, certain game portals like Ubisoft or Steam, they sometimes expose your banking information. Like sometimes in order for you to validate you own a credit card account, you just need to have the last 4 digits of the card, and that's what you can see on a Steam account. So if someone's trying to literally create a way to access information about me and to access information and to take out a loan in my name or to attempt to open up another card or an attempt to withdraw money from my accounts, that's all they would need, especially if they've purchased my name, my address, my social security number, and all these other components. So the other thing that they're trying to do is they are trying to build a profile on you so that they may get you with a romance scam, for example. If they realize that you're single, living alone, and they ask you these questions in these questionnaires that they ask you, and it translates over into, hey, you get a text message from someone else, hey, this is the opportunity that we have for you.
Right.
Go talk to us, or I'm your Nigerian prince, right? They know enough about you to be able to manipulate you so that you act in that way. And so that is a super critical thing. These scams are sadly a way of life and a way of doing business now. So there are things that we can do to protect ourselves.
Phil, and then one of your other presentations that you gave at Buo was beautifully titled AI will not replace you unless you allow it, or something along those lines.
Exactly.
Well, this is the Brownsville Society of the Performing Arts. And to the listeners, we are surrounded by a wonderful array of local art. There was a set of 2 slides that you showed. It was such a gorgeous demonstration of your premise. You showed one of the most historically, culturally significant pieces of art, being Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. And then you asked an AI to recreate it. It was so ugly.
Yeah.
So can you please expand on that? On AI will not replace you unless you allow it.
Yeah, so the idea behind that demonstration was to show that AI is inherently limited on its ability to produce something based on what it has access to. People think about AI as, oh, I'm able to create new things, or I'm able to, it's a means of enabling my creativity. In fact, no, it's just a tool.
Right.
It's a tool that's in fact like very limited. I think about, I watched this show called Gilmore Girls. That's from the early 2000s. And as they continue to renovate that house, they're using corded electrical drills. Right. And I'm like, when was the last time I used a corded electrical drill? And I'm like, almost never. But inherently, right, that tool is limited to a physical cord and a power source.
That's right.
So if you don't create, if you don't innovate on your own as a human being, AI will not be able to do that for you. It will only ever give you the capabilities based on what limitations you have. And so the idea of The Last Supper is, what I asked it to do is I asked it to discard, right, the modern stylings of death and perception that were popularized around Da Vinci's time, and asked it from that narrow data set to describe what The Last Supper would look like. And so that's how I was able to get that really ugly looking thing. Because AI, when you remove some of the data that it uses to produce these images, it just can't keep up. The way that this is evidenced is, I think some years ago there was this viral meme of Will Smith trying to eat a hot dog, like it was a Sora video.
Oh, okay.
Where it was like Will Smith trying to eat spaghetti, and it just looked disgusting.
Ew.
Like it just quite looked terrible. And the idea is that it didn't have access to all of the data that we fed it at that time. It wasn't as refined and nuanced. And it wasn't until it received consistently 4K quality videos of YouTubers performing mukbangs, it could then understand what noodles look like and what eating noodles look like, and understand what Will Smith looks like, and put it together, and bang, now you have something that looks realistic.
Right.
And now you can argue, oh, this is new art. It's not new art.
No.
I think one of the really fascinating things about humans is that we have such a means of thinking outside of what is the realm of possibility. Remember, AI is just trying to please you. It's trying to just agree with you. It's trying to be agreeable. And realistically, it's not going to produce anything truly new or truly sophisticated unless you yourself, the operator, are sophisticated enough to help it create something new. So AI certainly won't replace you unless you let it. And the way you allow AI to replace you is by making the assumption that, oh, anyone now can create good music because they have AI. Anyone can create great art because now they have AI. Anyone can do that. It says anyone can do that, and AI can do all that, and it's not that I can't, but now I won't. That is how you are replaced by AI. It's by believing in this illusion. One of the things I talk about is the automata, right?
Yes.
Those little robotic machines that we created, and the first example was the mechanical Turk. It was a chess playing it was a chess playing robot of its time in the 18th century that convinced people it was genius. It could beat anyone at chess. And you play it, and the machine seemed to know and to anticipate your moves, and it would get you in checkmate. And people didn't realize that there was quite literally a man in the machine playing chess to beat you. And it was the only time at which where maybe there was a young chess player convinced, I want to be great at chess. If they played that thing and lost and believed it was a robot, how discouraging that would be. You would feel inherently replaced. So the idea is that we as human beings still and continue, and as beings of life, if we think about it, are able to adapt in so many different ways, in ways that are unforeseeable. And we have that capability intrinsically. That's not something that we can easily bake into AI with the ways in which that we've built a structure. And the core of AI is machine learning and and mathematics that we've actually been using for almost a century now. So yeah, AI is not going to replace you unless you allow yourself to be convinced that, oh, this thing can now go ahead and replace my lawyer, my therapist, all these things. I spoke to a local lawyer in Brownsville, and he was like, I've seen some of the briefs produced by this stuff. It's incomprehensible.
No.
Right? And it misses and misconstrues so many concepts because ultimately it's just trying to be right. But that's because, again, the operator, the person using it, is not a sophisticated user of the tool.
Right.
So, you put an inexperienced pilot behind the plane with no guidance, they're gonna crash the plane. Like maybe they'll land a good landing once in a while, but that'll be sheer luck at that point in numbers. So it's the same concept with AI. You're not going to be able to go ahead and truly, just generate something new out of the blue. What I do see though as an opportunity is that I do see artists and I do see a more nuanced conversation in the photography community.
Ooh.
In the photography community, there are just some things that we just can't get around, such as other people in the shot or specific settings that aren't just quite right or things that are distracting to what you would like to go ahead and produce. And there are some people, some content creators who think about hard and fast rules of using AI, right? You can use AI, for example, to remove a trash can in a wedding shot, right? That sounds like great. Can you still consider it art? Probably. Could you have just done that with Photoshop? Absolutely. But if you're doing this for client work and it's going to save you a lot of time, certainly there are some benefits to that. Does that make you any less of an artist? I don't think so. I think you're leveraging a tool. But if you're using AI to a certain extent in which where you are now allowing it to change certain creative decisions that you should have been able to produce in photography, such as the framing, such as the proper coloring of the shot, such as the lighting in the room, all these things that you actually could control, you just chose not to, then yeah, you're replacing yourself with AI. And I think that's truly the case. For example, last night I built an app in 3 hours.
Right.
Some of the liberties that I knew I was giving up was having to go through and to build out the folder structure of the code. But ultimately, I made the necessary changes and fixed the bugs when I saw them so that my application was able to work the way it needed to, so that way those students could easily rank their colleges. It's one of those balancing acts. It can't be like, would you be upset if a carpenter used a power drill versus a corded one versus a hand and chisel? I don't think they're any less of a carpenter if they're using those tools, right? But it just enables them to create more art sooner. And so that's where I think we need to think about AI. And heck, even if we do get replaced, my favorite example at the end of that presentation is, it doesn't seem like the equestrian community is upset based on the advent of engines. Those guys, those horses seem to be living pretty decent lives at this point, right?
Yes.
They truly, once you had electric motors and internal combustion engines, you no longer had the need for a horse. And so now horses didn't have to do the manual labor of standing up our economy in that sense. So there's a ton of thoughts. There's no longer war horses, which was a common thing that you needed. You needed horses to haul your artillery because you weren't going to be able to use a motor for that. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about your presentation not too long ago when there was essentially, I don't give it away, but in short, there was this startup. It was like a tutoring startup that used AI, but instead it was revealed to be an outsourced group of tutors from a different part of the world. So I thought, it's like the Mechanical Turk.
Yes, exactly. It is quite literally the Mechanical Turk. It is quite literally the Mechanical Turk, and that is also what's what I'm looking for. that is also individuals in the AI community who are disillusioned with what the capabilities of AI is as well.
Right.
It's so funny. There was another. There are like AI pins or AI devices. AI devices have been a common thing in technology. There was a lot of excitement about them in 2024. We don't hear about them in 2025. Entirely because even the creators and the users of those devices overreached on what the capabilities of AI is at this current time. And they couldn't produce a quality device that was going to actually perform all the actions that we want, sort of like a fantastical Jarvis like element that constantly is able to observe your surroundings and give you information about it. Like, don't get me wrong, I can't wait for the day where I could go to a museum and I can choose to either have a quiet experience or a guided AI tour experience.
Ooh.
But I know that it's not going to replace tour guides. Like, I know it's not going to replace tour guides because tour guides are going to curate, are going to help curate and provide a positive experience. And they're going to be the ones responsible for feeding and developing the questions and the answers that someone may ask through a museum experience, right? Of course, I love being able to interact with my experts. My wife and I went to Turkey not too long ago, and we got to see the Hagia Sophia.
Oh, wow.
There was an individual who spoke in a Scottish accent and was Turkish, but spoke English in a Scottish accent. And without even a question, he was like, "Would you like a tour?" And we're like, "Yes, please tell us about this," right? Like, I would absolutely want to still be able to leverage someone like that if they're available. But I also know that type of role or that person was like doing this work part-time. It wasn't necessarily great for them. If they were willing to go ahead and to contribute the knowledge and the background that they had into an AI platform that allowed for people who just didn't have the time or people who just wanted to experience it but didn't want to have to interact with anybody. An AI experience, I see that being as something feasible. But again, you're not getting rid of the tour guides. You're not getting rid of the expert who knows this information, who is the holder of this information, the curator, because you can't replace how truly dynamic a human being can be. And ultimately, would I trust the AI to go ahead and to accurately reflect all the information about a place or about a museum exhibit? No, because it's only going to interact with me from a perspective of it wants to give me what I want to hear.
Right.
So if I want to hear that Italy was actually one of the good guys in World War II, I could probably force it out of them.
Oh, no.
Right? I could ask it to give me some very, very counter or contradicting perspectives on, the Allied and Axis powers for a time like that. But at the same time, like, again, right, this is why I think this is another example where the experts, the people, our minds are truly a difficult thing to create. And we took, the complexity of our minds is so vast. It's hard for me to think that we're going to be able to develop that type of complexity in a computer system soon. Yeah.
Phil, what would you say is the best tidbit of advice that you've learned so far?
Ooh, use a password manager. If we're talking about being in the privacy space, use a password manager. There's a concept called encryption. And basically, when you use a password manager, a lot of individuals, they like to write down their passwords. There are some passwords that I can't use a password manager for example, and I just have to like write it down for a little bit, and I'll practice typing it in. And once I've done that, I tear up the paper and it's gone. But there's a concept called encryption where when you store information in an encrypted format, it obfuscates it to anyone who doesn't have one of those encryption keys. And you can apply that to every single one of your passwords. So if you're going to navigate through the world where you have your social media, your private information, your public information, your bank accounts and all that stuff, use a password manager. That's one of the bits of advice. Now, there's another layer of advice that I could go ahead and come from a perspective that's not in the realm of what I do, but I would say that's definitely the first one. Would you like to hear the other?
Yes, please.
Okay. The other bit of advice that I had, oh boy, it came from an individual who was a mentor of mine. It was a mentor of mine when I was early in my career for consulting and technology and data privacy. His bit of advice was never ask for more work.
Okay. Never ask for more work.
Never ask for more work. And it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
The reason why I really enjoy that work, that bit of advice, was it gave me two perspectives. When I felt overwhelmed, when I felt completely underwater, it meant that I had to acknowledge that I'm underwater and overwhelmed. And even though I might be someone who's trying to please my boss or the company or trying to make a certain number, I should not be. I'm in no position to ask for more work. I need to make sure that I'm focused on what exactly it is that I'm doing. Okay. On the other end, if I'm just sitting around, not doing anything, right? I'm maybe not producing as much value, but I'm very comfortable. If I'm not building a bit of technology, to ask for more work in that state is almost a detriment to your career at that point.
Right.
Because if you have to ask, it means that you're not thinking deeply or in a nuanced way about the challenges and the problems that you're facing. And therefore, you're never realistically going to accomplish anything. So if I find myself with a lull in my calendar or with an opportunity where I have a little bit of time, I do need to make sure that I didn't just come from a massive state of overwhelm.
Yes.
But I also need to translate it into a place in which where I'm not just going to go and be like, hey, is there something we need to do here? Hey, is there something? I should be aware of what are the challenges and the problems that I'm facing, or the challenges and the problems that I see in my community or in the work that I'm doing, and going to go and fix that. It's a call to be reflective and proactive.
Right.
And so I think that is one of the bits of advice that sort of circles in my brain subconsciously now. Before I sort of had to be like, don't ask for more work, don't ask for more work. And trying to battle out with various consulting jobs as to what that means. But I also see it as now, okay, I don't have to ask to do more work if I feel like I'm not doing enough. I can actually just go and do those things. If it means that, I have 4 or 5 high schoolers who all want to rank their colleges and don't have a clear, what feels objective way to organize that, it means I'm building an app in 3 hours and I'm deploying it and I'm giving it to them. And that way I don't have to ask for more work.
I see.
Yeah.
Phil, who do you credit the most to make you the man you are today?
Oh, Gil, that is a hard question. Oh, boy. Who do I credit the most? Oh, that is hard. I say it's hard because there's quite a few people. There's quite a few people. And I don't think I've reflected all at once on all of those individuals. And I think there's ways I could go about the question. There's you asked, who do I credit making me the man I am today? Yeah. But I'm also an older brother. I'm also, a mentor. I'm also all these other things. I'd be hard pressed, but I'd say the short list for sure. I think I would have to name my wife for one person. When you love someone, it changes the way you see about the world.
Yes.
And it makes it so that way you are thinking about things differently. You're thinking about them differently. You're spending almost half your time, if not more, thinking about the other person than yourself, and that really changes who you are. I think of my younger siblings because for me, they feel like an extension of me. My youngest siblings were born when I was about 10 years old, and they're twins. And I was there to help for up years 1 through 3, basically completely, to sort of like, whether it was changing diapers or, getting bottles ready or doing that stuff, I was there to help. Because they were the youngest too, but my parents I also had 2 other siblings. So it was a full house that I grew up with. So I would say definitely my siblings. They definitely shaped the way that I think about how I interact with young people. It's interesting because I think it's not like my expectations of young people have increased because of them, but it's more of like I feel comfortable being the person who can expect greatness of them and having them just question like, what are you talking about, man? Like, like I can anticipate, or I can be one of the first people who expects more for them than maybe they might have considered themselves. So I like that. And then I think about it from the perspective of my dad. I think my dad would be the last person, because my dad was a person who taught me, or at least gave me some perspective as to how a man can sort of like exist in the world. My dad was one thing to me, but to his coworkers, he was a banker. To my mom, he was a husband. And he at least taught me, even though he might not have been perfect, but he at least taught me that a man contains multitudes. And in those multitudes, you get to decide how you interact, who you are, and who you want to be. And if you are unhappy with any one of those things, well, don't ask for more work. Just go do it. So I think that would be the way I'd answer that question.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Final question, Phil.
Yes.
It's the same final question that I've asked everyone. Everyone's given beautiful answers. I call it the stage is yours.
Oh boy.
Imagine, Phil.
Okay.
A giant arena, a giant stadium.
Okay.
With 200,000 seats, which conveniently is the population of Brownsville.
Okay, yeah.
Every one of those seats is filled with every resident that lives in the city.
Okay.
You march down the 50-yard line.
Oh boy.
With a microphone, and you're given 1 to 2 minutes to say something to the entire population of Brownsville, Texas. Phil, what would that message be?
We need a light rail.
Yes, we do.
I would rant about just how much, and this is an example in which where I feel like just the simplest, this is not even new technology. This is technology we have already.
Yes.
If we could enable a way for people to get around that doesn't involve traffic, that doesn't involve that doesn't involve, like, I think half of the activity or the buzz in Brownsville is which car blew up and what accident happened and all that stuff. I'm like, if we can just enable a light rail, and I can get the 1 or 2 minutes to explain why it's a good thing and why it'd be such a beneficial thing and how it would change the economy of Brownsville, I absolutely would. Yeah. That would be the first thing. Yeah, absolutely. Hands down. Give me a light rail. Yeah. I mean, like, it makes bikes, it makes renewable transportation or eco-friendly transportation a viable option.
Yes.
Because now you have first and last destination options such as bike shares or a skateboard. I lived in, like, maybe this is a little bit of my coastal elitism coming from New Jersey type of thing, but I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey. I lived in New Brunswick, and I got around on buses, trains, and I rarely used a car. But, like, it really does change the economic development of a place. And being able to go to one of your favorite places without having to worry about traffic, that would be amazing. First Fridays, no traffic. I just have a automated machine that automatically transports me uptown, and I can walk to my house from there. I'm taking it. You know, like, yeah, no brainer.
The crowd roars.
There you go. Yeah.
Phil, literally every conversation I've ever had with you has been a delight. This is actually the first time where I've, like, really gotten to know you as a person. Because in all those times it was maybe 5 to 10 minutes, casual, informal, in passing.
Exactly.
But Phil, oh my gosh, thank you for giving me the privilege to finally get to know you a little better. Not just in your line of work, but also as a person.
I
Phil,
appreciate it, Gil.
Thank you for adding value to Brownsville.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for being a guest today on Brownsville Matters.
Thank you so much, Gil.
And that's a wrap.
Cool.
This is Michael Quantz with the Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts, here to tell you about our podcast, Brownsville Matters. Everyone in Brownsville has a story to tell, and these are the stories. We broadcast these stories every Friday at 5 p.m. and every Sunday at 3 p.m. on KXIQ 105.1 FM on your radio dial. You can also catch these stories rebroadcast on our YouTube channel for Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and smash the notifications if you want more information about these stories that you watch and listen to.